The goal of Ubisoft is really to give players what they want. And to do that, we have to give enough freedom to the different studios and the people in those studios to come up with ideas that they would love to play. They put their art and passion to come with something they believe in, and that's what makes the difference.
Ubisoft has fallen off, and it's honestly sad, but also kind of funny. What's going on, everyone? It's gaming's most iconic cynic, Pooks, back with another video for the unemployed. And today, we need to talk about a company that once had a chokehold on the gaming industry. A studio that once dropped banger after banger like they were allergic to failure. Far Cry, Tom Clancy, Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed. This wasn't just a roster, it was a dynasty. Ubisoft used to be him. Now, one of the biggest laughingstocks of modern gaming. Seeing a Ubisoft logo used to fill you up with the feeling you got when the music starts to swell in a Hans Zimmer track. Cut to today, and the Ubisoft logo is just met with eye rolls and sighs of disappointment. That has been Ubisoft's legacy for the last decade. And somehow, despite all of that, there's this weird little spark lately, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, Ubisoft remembers what made people love them in the first place. And of course, I'm talking about the return to Black Flag, along with its new design philosophy. Less bloated nonsense, more handcrafted fun, and trailing missions are finally being reworked. Actual stealth improvements, systems that respect your time instead of trying to marry your wallet. Dare I say, bring me that horizon. This brings us to the most important question. Can Ubisoft really change? Or is it just another cinematic trailer before the inevitable Battle Pass announcement? Well, we'll answer that all and more. Grab some water, you dehydrated pig, moisturize those gamer elbows, and park those naughty cheeks somewhere comfortable. Because today, we're diving into the rise, fall, identity crisis, and possible redemption arc of Ubisoft. And trust me, this one's more messier than the Assassin's Creed timeline. Before the outposts, before the map icons, before every Ubisoft protagonist sounded bland and the same, there was a small French company founded in 1986 by the Guillemot brothers. I think that's how you say that French, right? Guillemot. Ubisoft started out humble, publishing games, experimenting, trying weird stuff like Zombie, a zombie horror game that gave them the money needed to eventually stumble upon something magical. Rayman. Yeah, that limbless crackhead with floating hands and feet. No, they later on turned him into an actual crackhead, guys. It's actually kind of crazy. This is another fall off thing about how Ubisoft shit. They literally turned this cute little guy into a wild personality that sniffs coke off of a cow. Rayman wasn't just good, it had personality, style, charm, and Ubisoft felt creative, dangerous even, like they weren't scared to try things. Then came the Tom Clancy era, Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, Splinter Cell, and my god, Splinter Cell. Instantly reach Ung status talking about how hype it was to be Sam Fisher creeping through shadows with those iconic green goggles. Talk about stealth gaming royalty. The lighting system, the tension, the sound design, interrogating guards while hanging upside down like tactical Batman. Ubisoft used to cook. Prince of Persia was that franchise. Sands of Time in 2003 felt revolutionary. Wall running, rewinding time, platforming that actually felt fluid instead of fighting your controller to just jump on a ledge. The prince himself had personality too, cocky, sarcastic, constantly fumbling his way through disasters before Nathan Drake even existed. And then the emo era of gaming hit, Warrior Within happened.
Will this beast never quit?
Ubisoft looked at Sands of Time and said, what if we added heavy metal, leather straps, and enough edge to cut diamonds? And somehow, it worked. Dark atmosphere, brutal combat, it was edgy in the most 2000s way imaginable. Fans loved it because it still had identity. The trilogy ended with the Two Thrones, and for a while Prince of Persia felt untouchable. But no king rules forever. Eventually, Prince of Persia got kicked down the stairwell into Ubisoft's basement. Ubisoft had found its next obsession. Prince of Persia. No! Ubisoft. And in a lot of ways, that obsession was built directly from Prince of Persia's DNA. Parkour, wall climbing, acrobatic movement, historical setting, fluid melee combat. You can feel Prince of Persia's fingerprints all over early Assassin's Creed. Ubisoft didn't just take inspiration from it, they practically cannibalized the franchise to build their next golden goose. And honestly, despite me saying that, it worked. The year 2007 rolls along, and with it dropped Assassin's Creed. Now look, the first Assassin's Creed was repetitive as hell, let's be real. You basically eavesdrop on a conversation for 12 hours, and occasionally stab someone dramatically. But underneath the repetition, there was something special. The atmosphere, the cities, the social stealth, the parkour, the conspiracy nonsense that somehow made absolutely no sense, while also making perfect sense at the same time. It felt ambitious. Like Ubisoft was trying to evolve everything they learned from Prince of Persia into something bigger. And then Ubisoft did what Ubisoft used to do best. They listened, improved, and refined the formula. Assassin's Creed 2 arrived, and suddenly Ezio Auditore was making every gamer on Earth want a hidden blade and maybe a missing little finger. Assassin's Creed 2's revenge-driven story felt Hollywood. Ezio became an iconic figure in gaming history. The cities felt alive, grand, the movement smoother, the missions more varied. Brotherhood expanded the formula, giving you more of what you loved. Then, the finale, with Revelations, closed the trilogy beautifully. Ubisoft had discovered its golden goose, and they milked that bird so hard that you'd think Homelander himself would come and get a taste. Annual releases started dropping faster than Call of Duty lobbies calling me slurs. Every year, another Assassin's Creed, another map, another tower to climb, another checklist. However, despite the repetition, Ubisoft still had sauce. Far Cry 3 gave a player an island full of pirates, drugs, wild animals, and more ammunition and explosions than the US Armory. Hell, who would have guessed you got a recipe for a fun game? Voss carried the game on his back like it was LeBron James last year with the Cavs.
Where I'd do anything for my sister. First time I ever killed was for my sister. It was not enough for her. No, please. You see, the thing about our loved ones, right? Our fucking loved ones! They come and they blindside you every fucking time. So they say to me, they say, Voss, who the fuck is it going to be? Them or me? Me or them? like they fucking think that I need to make a fucking choice.
What a generational performance. Far Cry 3 had some shortcomings, like lack of enemy variety, the final villain being a shadow compared to Voss, and dare I say, people were not ready for a protagonist with the depth of Jason Brody. He starts out as a terrified civilian to a killing machine who is slowly being consumed by the island itself. At the end of the game, he has to face the loss of his humanity and return to normal life, which will never be possible. For some reason, this nuanced protagonist didn't click at first with players, I feel like. Later, it would be appreciated, but too little too late. The Far Cry series would then take what worked from 3 and just replicate it. Cool badass villain, explosions, and radio towers. Lots and lots of radio towers. Hell, but I'll give them credit for Primal for trying something really weird and different and orange. It's very, very orange. You would think you were in a Breaking Bad episode in Mexico. Oh, who lives in a depression on the Caribbean Sea? I'll tell you, it's not SpongeBob. Edward Kenway Black Flag in 2013 was the peak of Ubisoft, and I will die on this hill. You weren't just an assassin anymore, you were a pirate, sailing through storms while sea shanties blasted in the background, boarding ships, hunting whales, exploring islands. Black Flag succeeded because it focused on fun first. Not engagement metrics, not battle passes, not player retention ecosystems. Fun. And people loved it. But Ubisoft learned the wrong lesson. Instead of understanding why Black Flag worked, they just copied the formula until it became corporate oatmeal. Open world after open world, climb tower, reveal map, clear outpost, collect meaningless crafting materials, flat jokes, meaningless side content, repeat until your soul leaves your body. Their RPG open world formula infected everything. Far Cry, Ghost Recon, Watch Dogs, The Division. Even games that didn't need RPG mechanics suddenly had level-gated enemies wearing t-shirts surviving 7 headshots. The Ubisoft formula became a meme. And I don't think I can talk about Ubisoft's blunders without bringing up Assassin's Creed Unity. Oh boy. November 2014. The trailers looked insane. Revolutionary crowds, next-gen visuals, Paris during the French Revolution, parkour animations more smooth than a jazz saxophone solo. This was supposed to be Ubisoft's masterpiece. Instead, NPCs missing faces, characters falling through floors, frame rates fighting for their lives, bugs so bad people thought the Animus itself was malfunctioning. Unity launched broken. Like, why is this man's eyeball floating in the middle of the air while he delivers dialogue broken? And for the first time, Ubisoft's reputation took a serious hit. But then something strange happened. Unity actually got patched? And years later, people look back and realize beneath the bugs was maybe one of the best Assassin's Creed foundations ever made. Dense cities, incredible parkour, better stealth, co-op assassinations. Ubisoft had good ideas, but they were rushing everything. Syndicate came and went, then Ubisoft panicked. The scene has changed. Witcher 3 had changed the industry. Suddenly, every publisher wanted RPG mechanics, loot systems, skill trees the size of the Bible. So, Assassin's Creed stopped being Assassin's Creed, and in comes Origins. It was good, genuinely. Bayek carried that game emotionally harder than Ubisoft marketing carries Skull and Bones. Ancient Egypt looked stunning, combat was revamped, exploration felt fresh, but then Odyssey doubled down, and Valhalla tripled down. Suddenly, Assassin's Creed wasn't about stealth anymore, it was about damage numbers exploding out of a man's chest while you fought a level 58 chicken with flaming armor. The games got bigger, but not better. Maps became theme parks of repetitive content, side quests blurred together. Every game turned into an 80-hour commitment with enough filler to rival anime pacing. And let's talk about microtransactions, because Ubisoft became absolutely addicted to them. XP boosters, armor packs, time savers. Brother, if your game sells time savers, maybe your game is wasting my fucking time. At one point, Ubisoft literally designed progression systems so grindy that paying extra felt encouraged. Single-player games started feeling like live service experiments wearing trench coats pretending to be RPGs. And speaking of live service, oh, Ubisoft chased that dragon hard. Hyperscape, X-Defiant, The Division, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Skull and Bones, Quartz NFTs. Let me say that again. Fucking NFTs. I need you to understand how insane this era was. Gamers everywhere were screaming, please stop making everything live service. And Ubisoft looked them directly into the camera and said,
"You wanna see me do it again?"
Ghost Recon Breakpoint especially felt like the moment Ubisoft lost the plot entirely. A tactical military shooter turned into a looter shooter survival game with gear scores. Sam Fisher showing up in a game where enemies dropped color-coded knee pads like Destiny loot made me physically ill. Fans hated it, and Ubisoft had to publicly apologize and overhaul the entire game. Again, that became the pattern. Broken launches, patch later, promises of lessons learned, repeat. Watch Dogs Legion introduced an ambitious gameplay system that let you recruit anyone, however, at the cost of making most characters feel emotionally dead inside. Far Cry 6 had Gus Fring giving an amazing performance trapped inside a game allergic to innovation. Skull and Bones spent like 11 years in development just to release as What If Black Flag removed the parts people loved? No sword combat, minimal boarding, always online, live service monetization, jargon. Ubisoft kept leaving players asking, who the fuck asked for this? Investors surely must have had Ubisoft held by the balls. Then, the workplace drama. Reports of workplace harassment and toxic culture hit Ubisoft hard around 2020. Executives resigned, employees spoke out. The company promised reform. What little trust and reputation Ubisoft had became shattered. Through all of this, Ubisoft stock started looking like it got hit by a tactical nuke. Every showcase became memes. Quadruple A gaming. They actually said this. What the fuck does that mean? Ubisoft went from one of the most respected names in gaming to feeling like a flaky French pastry held together by expired glue and microtransactions. Even Assassin's Creed Shadows couldn't escape controversy. Ubisoft clearly wanted another massive cultural epic in the same conversation as Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotai. Instead, the game got buried under backlash, online discourse, and criticism over how aspects of Japanese culture and history were being handled. Before people were even talking about gameplay, they were already fighting on Twitter. Ubisoft seemed somewhat aware that players were exhausted of Assassin's Creed Shift, so they threw fans a bone with Mirage, which scaled things back with focus on stealth. Then the whisper started, the Black Flag remake. Not just prettier graphics and shinier ocean water either, actual improvements. Expanded naval systems, modernized stealth, reworked trailing missions so they don't feel like following someone at the speed of a Genshin Impact cutscene, thank God. Ubisoft's biggest problem was never talent, it was direction. These dev teams are insanely skilled. Their artists carry the industry on their backs. Their world designers make environments so beautiful you'll stop moving just to stare at a sunset. But somewhere along the way, Ubisoft stopped designing games around player joy and started designing them around engagement statistics, and players felt it. You can feel when a game was built because somebody had passion, and you can feel when a game was built because an executive saw a graph. That's why Black Flag worked. That's why Chaos Theory worked. That's why Rainbow Six Siege survived despite its rocky launch. Underneath the corporate sludge, there's still greatness buried in Ubisoft somewhere. The question is whether they can actually let it breathe again. Because the gaming industry changed while Ubisoft remained stagnant. Players are tired of infinite maps with nothing meaningful inside them. They're tired of games launching unfinished, tired of battle passes and franchises that never needed them, tired of live service roadmaps replacing creativity. Ubisoft spent years chasing trends instead of setting them. And maybe, just maybe, they're finally realizing that. The irony is painful. The company that practically perfected the modern open world genre accidentally became the reason people got sick of the modern open world genre. That's one hell of a legacy. But redemption, that's still possible. Because every now and then, Ubisoft reminds us who they used to be. A company willing to take risks. A company that made worlds people got lost in for the right reasons. Not because the UI had 400 icons, but because the worlds themselves were worth exploring. So no, I don't think Ubisoft is dead. I do think this is their last real shot. If the Black Flag remake misses, if future game titles fall back into bloated live service nonsense, it might genuinely be over. Not financially, Ubisoft's too massive for that now, but spiritually, yeah, that can die. And honestly, I hope it doesn't, because beneath all the corporate nonsense and rabbits going to the moon, there is a version of Ubisoft that made some of the greatest games of all time. Let's just hope they remember how to be that company. And with that, I've been Pooks! Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, comment down below what Ubisoft game was your favorite and when you think the company started to fall off. If you enjoyed the video, join the Pookie Bear Club and hit that subscribe and like button for more degeneracy and digital nonsense from yours truly. And if you're still hungry for more content from your boy, check out the Twitch. I stream most days, and honestly, there's a decent chance I'll be getting detected through walls by Ubisoft's bad enemy AI while questioning my life choices. Peace.